Well, good morning, listeners. It's morning here in the US and it's late afternoon for Stephanie Fearon. She is a singer as well as an actress. She's done the West End before. I actually was introduced to her through watching, it's been a while now, but if any of you have seen Over the Rainbow, it was like a BBC series where they were going through different singers, and it was a competition to find Dorothy for the West End over the Rainbow production, and Stephanie ended up in the semifinals for that, and has gone on from there to have her own independent career. Um, Stephanie, I've always wondered from after watching that show too, because it's like so much energy and passion, and you're putting everything into it. And I imagine even then, when you were younger, this is your dream, and you're hoping that it kind of kicks off. Um, What was it like to have to leave so close to the end? Like, did you, because you handle it very well, obviously, when the camera's on you, like, that you're done and you're like, okay, gonna have to sing and say bye and look
Yeah.
very put together. Um, but how was that for you getting so close and then, not getting to be in the final and not even getting to, be the role that you'd worked so hard for?
I mean, that's a funny one. It never bothered me in the slightest, honestly. First of all, I didn't know it was big in America. So this was, I was surprised that you were following it. But when I initially went for this, I was on tour. I was doing my first job out of college, and I had a tour doing Little Shop of Horrors musical with a girl that had previously done the Nancy show, which I'd watched. So she was like, "Oh, the next one they're doing is Dorothy. You should go for it." And I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. That kind of thing, for obvious reasons. Aesthetically, I probably wouldn't fit into that bracket casting wise. That's why I was kind of thinking. And she was like, "No, it's not about that." And she kind of said, "Look, it's exposure. We're in this musical theatre industry. We're trying to get ourselves seen. That's like the biggest platform you can have to get yourself seen by cast directors. Like, even if you made the final 20, it's a great thing to have on your CV." And I was like, "Actually, yeah, you're right." So I went for the audition, which I nearly didn't end up going to because it was the day after my 21st birthday, and I was a wreck. It was a mess. But I pulled myself together and I rocked up still with face paint on, and the rest is history. But to answer your question, it became this journey, made great friends. It became like this whirlwind experience. Never in a million years did I ever think I would win it. So I guess I was doing it for the journey, for the exposure, for the
Okay.
experience. And it was never about actually playing Dorothy. When I got close to the end, I thought, oh, so I thinking, oh, like that would actually be quite nice. But that was always kind of like a bonus for me. Like if it happens, then great. But it was never really on my like own personal plan that was
Okay.
ever yeah.
Well, since then, like in your career, do you have to face rejection a lot? Like,
Yeah.
are the times you're accepted, or not accept is not the right word, the times that you get what you are going for are less than the times that it doesn't work out?
100%. It's a really, really tough old industry, and you have to have such a thick skin because you're going for these roles that maybe you've dreamt all the way through drama school, like, oh, this is the role I'm going to play in the West End, or this is what I'm going to do. And and then it's completely out of your control. There's only so much you can
Yeah.
do. Are you paying for singing lessons? You're doing this, you're doing that. And then you go, oh, I'm too short for that role. Oh, no, I didn't know that. Or you just you go up and you're going for audition after audition after audition, and you're sweating, and you give everything. Honestly, like, when you're in it, you it means everything to you. And then once you've gone through a few auditions and you're down to the last stages, and you're like, oh my god, like this is a possibility. And then to get rejected at the last hurdle, is absolutely heartbreaking. So when you're doing that over and over and over again, it does break your soul a little bit and knock your confidence. And that's why I've had such a love-hate relationship with the industry. Me personally, I I've been in it and then I've gone, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it because because I'm so invested, and
Yeah.
I'm so passionate. So it's always been a little bit in out in out. I'll go, no, I can't, I'm not doing it anymore. And then I'll be away for a few months and I go, oh God, I really miss it. And then you go back into it and you go, why did I come back? And then you like get out and I'm like, oh, I really miss it. And then it's just, it really is a roller coaster of emotions. And
Mm.
then you get a great job and then you're like, oh, this is why I do it, and then you're on stage, you're taking your bow and you're like, this is why I do it. Because that feeling is like nothing else. You can't replicate that feeling. But you have to really, yeah, your thick skin is something that unfortunately you're not born with. That you have to kind of learn like how to take that rejection and how to swallow it and go, okay, wasn't for me, there's a reason, and move
Yeah.
on. But it's hard. Yeah.
What do you remember the first time doing that was like?
Oh, so when I was a lot younger, it was mainly TV roles. I was with an agency when I was a child, and it was predominantly TV based stuff that I would go up for. And I was very, very lucky. I was on a roll. I used to get pretty much everything I went for, and I think it gave me a false sense of it wasn't real life. I was very
Yeah.
lucky, and I was good at what I was doing, and people liked me. But as I became older, there's more competition. You change. I don't know. But I went into musical theatre, trained in that, and then I came out and um, things were different. So TV stuff. Once you go and train in musical theatre, you come out and you graduate from a musical theatre school. Casting directors for TV stuff kind of go, not sure, maybe you're a bit too jazz hands now. So that kind of changed things a little bit. But my passion really was for the musicals, and I'd say my heartbreak, musical theatre wise, was Les Mis. So I was really,
Mm.
really getting that at one point after Over the Rainbow, actually. Um,
Was
and
this on the
I
West End too, or?
was, yeah, yeah, it was on the West End, and I think it was second choice in the end. And at the finals, I was really sick, and there's
Oh.
nothing to do about that, is there? Like, I was so sick, and I remember standing there in the Queen's Theatre, and Cameron McIntosh was at the back, and I felt like everyone was rooting for me, like on the casting team, but they were like coming up going, can you sing louder? And I was like, I can't hear anything. I had like tissues in my pocket for like my snot. It was gross. And I just wasn't well. And I'm not saying like, I don't know, maybe if I was well, it would have gone my way. But it just was not a good way to end. And it didn't go my way, and I was absolutely heartbroken. I know who got it, and she's amazing. But then it was just like an ongoing thing. So the next
Hmm.
year, they were like, Steph doesn't have to go through all the auditions. She can just come to the final because we know her. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is my chance. Um, and then did they call me? I think I was waiting for the call,
Hmm.
and it never came. Sorry,
Oh.
my phone came, and I was like, why aren't they calling me? I was meant to go, and then now this is a funny one. Then I heard that they'd offered it to Daniel Hope, that actually did win Over the Rainbow. um, so I think they were casting for the film at the time. They were casting for the film, and obviously Samantha Barks, who played it on West End, Eponine, did the film. And I think Danielle auditioned for the film. This is what I'd heard anyway. But they said, look, we're not going to give you the film, but do you want to do on the West End? So they basically scrap the audition process to some degree. So I was like,
Mm.
no, obviously super happy for Dan, but I was like, but I wanted to have a shot, my shot, which didn't happen in the end. And then the year after that, because the film had come out, I think they wanted someone that looked like Samantha Barks, political, I don't know, marketing, I don't know. But they wanted someone that looked like Samantha Barks on the West End. So I didn't get a look in there either. So it was, and then I kind of started to go, you know what, this dream is kind of, the hope was kind of fading.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
yeah, and then the next year they were like, oh no, yeah. So that's always been like one of those that, oh, that kind of like stayed with me, like, oh, that's because when you can do a job, and like when you could do a job good, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I really had the opportunity to do that. But you move on, and you do other things, and you don't. It's very, some things stay with you, but I don't think it's healthy to keep hold of one job and go like that should have been my, like, you move on, you do other things, other fun projects, but to answer your question, yeah, that was the kind of the first rejection that really kind of was like a painful one, I guess, because I was so invested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever consider kind of doing, because I know you do in some ways your own independent music, because you are part of a band which you can hire, for events and performances. But did you ever consider maybe um starting your own thing in some way? Because I know some of the ladies from Over the Rainbow did like their own CDs and things like that, or streaming for a bit. Is that something that you would be interested in, or do you think now you're kind of moving farther away from doing kind of more independent music?
No, so I did do an album actually, pretty soon after Over the Rainbow. It's called My Parade, and we did it very, very quickly. I think we did it in 4 weeks, which is really quite crazy.
Is it on? I've got to find it now.
Yeah, it's called My Parade. Do you mind? I'm just going to turn off the heater because I'm starting to like.
Yeah, sure,
One
go
second.
ahead. Is it cold there?
Yeah, we've had about two days of sun in the last 8 months. It's been really fun. Um, and yeah, there's no. I keep looking at the weather app, hoping to see like the sunshine, picture, but I haven't. It hasn't come yet. So fingers crossed, we won't be waiting for too much longer. But yeah, so we did that album. It was like all hands on deck to get this album done. I think I had another project starting, so it was like we've got 4 weeks, to do this album. And it was crazy. We had like a full orchestra, like people arranging stuff really quick. It was madness. And then like I got sick again. There's a theme. I'm not sick that often, by the way, but I did get sick again and doing my vocals. And I was like, oh my god, like because it was because we'd made this, there were deadlines. I kind of had to just get on with it. But yeah, we're really proud of it. So it's so long ago now that I don't listen to it, but sometimes my mum will like play it, every few years. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't sound like me. And I sound so different because I was like a younger version of myself, and you change and your voice changes, and
Yeah.
quite funny. But I have done like tracks and original music for not myself, but for other people. I've kind of hopped around when people need vocals on something and they ask if I'm free. I'm usually quite down for laying some vocals down for certain tracks. They've been mainly kind of dance tracks, but very, very different from musical
Yes.
theatre.
Well, it was not too long ago, I suppose. You were in Mamma Mia, right? As Lisa for West End
Yeah,
too?
yeah. That was oh my goodness, I lose track of dates and years, but yeah, I think about 5 years, 5, 6 years ago. Yeah, that was my last like proper musical theatre job, which was amazing. Made some really good friends. It's a really, really fun show to be a part of. But unfortunately, on the show, I injured my back really badly. I don't know if you know this.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I injured my back. During the bowels, it just seized up.
Oh
And
my
I,
goodness.
what is going on? I like hobbled home. I was like, what is going on? It was so painful. And it turned out all my discs had just inflamed all of a sudden. And
Hmm.
so I had to take some time off. I was seeing physio like 2, 3 times a week. It was crazy. In the end, I had MRI scans. It was a very like long and drawn out thing, but essentially, it's still not the same now. So I went back
Wow.
to the show. After a couple of weeks, thinking I was okay. I'd be in warm up, and it would go again. It was really, really tough. So I was having to take a lot of time off. Um, and yeah, I was just in a really bad place because I couldn't do my job. Um,
Hmm.
and I was missing the gang, and time was going, and I was just, some days I was like unable to move. And in the end, they found out that after doing a lot of research and scans and stuff, they said that there was like a congenital condition that people can just live with fine, but if it's traumatized, then it can cause a problem, which obviously happened.
Yeah.
Um, so in the end, I had to leave the contract like 3 months early. I was
Wow.
absolutely gutted. I was absolutely gutted. I remember going to watch the final performance and like rooting my pals on. It was quite emotional actually. But yeah, so I that kind of marked my what is actually ended up quite a permanent break from the industry.
Hmm.
Because
Is
then
that
I
still the case now? You don't think you'll go back?
yeah, it was a bit of a it's a real weird one because life kind of takes you on this journey, sometimes completely unexpected,
Hmm.
and then you end up in a place and you're like your priorities are completely changed. I mean, at the time when that happened when I was doing the Mamma Mia contract, I was off injured and I was in quite a bad place, and then my little doggy, he actually don't tell the company manager, but we used to sneak him in to the building on Fridays. He was like the cast just absolutely adored him. This my gorgeous little Shih Tzu who was doing tricks for everyone. Everyone loved him. I'd go into my dressing room and people would be cuddling him on the floor, and it was just very. He was yeah, he was like the little mascot. And whilst I was off injured, he actually got run over and died.
Ooh.
Um, so when I was already off in quite a bad place, that then happened.
Mm.
Obviously, everyone at the show were devastated as well because everyone knew and loved him. And he was actually like, this is it, it does get happier. But yeah, he was my like best friend. Like honestly, like he was like my everything. And when that happened,
Wow.
I can hands down say that was like the worst night of my life. Um, because yeah, I was like he was like my baby. So when he died, like in my arms, and I had no control over, it was in the middle of the night. I was just like, it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous, the worst thing I've ever experienced. Um, so once that happened, I was physically um not in a good way, and then mentally completely like I thought I was low before that happened, and then that happened. I was like, okay, I just need everyone to kind of. My agent was ringing me like, all right, do you
Mm.
want to go for this? Do you want to go for that? And I was like, I just need everyone to leave me alone. I can't put a smile on my face and go to auditions and do a tap dance. My back's broken. My baby's just like on my relationship at the time was also on the rocks, which ended up you know ending. So there was lots going on, and I just had to take a break. But then
Mm.
I started dog walking. Um, I started dog walking. Actually, my agent suggested it. Like, do you want to just go and like start dog walking? You can get paid. Like, just get out on your feet, get some air, like get out and about, and be around little dogs and stuff. And I was like, actually, that sounds quite like a good idea. So I joined this website and I started walking people's dogs. And then it just snowballed. So I was then like looking after them for the day. Overnight, I was like this.
Wow.
It became this thing, and I just was like, oh, I actually prefer dogs to people right now, and I was happy. I was happy, and I got another dog as well. called Louis, who's just the best. And yeah, so that became a thing. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to build a business. So I paused, excuse the pun. I paused and I went to learn to cut their hair, to groom them. So I took a break for 6 weeks, did an intensive course, came back, and then I was like, hey guys, like I can cut their hair now. And, I didn't think anyone would come back to me because I'd been gone for so long, but everyone came back. And then I was able to offer these extra
Wow.
services. And I built this business. I was doing it for like 4 years. And I loved it. I was out walking every day. I was super fit. I was all around my dogs. Yeah, and I loved it. But without rambling too much, I then met my husband, my now husband. And we obviously started thinking about starting a family, and we needed to kind of upsize because we couldn't afford to stay in London with London prices. So we had to make the decision to move out, and leave my business and my community that kind of built up for a long time. So we moved up. We moved out of London just before the lockdown in 2020. Got in at the perfect time, um, and and then we made a baby. So, and now we've got two. So, to answer your question, my priorities have completely changed from 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Where I was in London, I was auditioning, I was single. you know, I'm now I've got a family, and we've got bills to pay, and I need a certain work-life balance. When it comes to the theatre stuff, it's really difficult because I've been actually having conversations with my agent recently about this. He's putting me up for things. Casting directors are getting in touch with him, wanting to meet with me for certain shows, big shows as well, shows that I really, really love. But I have to go, right. I've got a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. If I go through the
Mm-hmm.
rigmarole of the audition period and I get the job, I am never seeing my family.
Yeah.
When I'm in the rehearsal period, it's going to be, a few weeks of just being out all day. And then when I, eventually go in to do the shows, my kids are going to be starting like nursery. So they won't be around. So they're going to be at nursery all day. And then when they come
Mm.
home, I'm going to be out. And I don't know if I want to go a year without putting my babies to bed, just seeing them one day a week when they're, and because I've had one already, I know
Yeah.
how quickly time goes, how precious these moments are, even though they drive me mad a lot of the time too. But but they grow up so quickly, and I don't know if I want to miss out on that for the sake of a
Mm.
job. It's a really, really hard one. I had to make a decision the other day, because the job would have been really, really great. But I was like, it's just the work-life balance, and making sure
Mm.
that you don't regret anything. It's tricky when you're a mama and you want to have a career, but you also want to have a family. And I'm very, very lucky that I have both at the moment, because a lot of people are kind of sacrificing one or the other, right? But it's just making sure I make those right decisions, especially when they're so young. um yeah,
What are
so at
you
the moment,
doing? I was gonna say at the moment, what do you do for income? Does your husband is the primary breadwinner, or do you guys share that, or how does that work with two little ones?
yeah, we share it. So at the moment, so what happened was, after we were kind of in the lockdown period for about, what's 20 years. And then I started becoming interested in the function world. So basically singing with different bands, doing weddings, corporate events, things like that. And I started singing for a couple of bands primarily. Um, and then after a while, I was like, you know what, I really enjoy this. I'm working between once to 3 times max a week.
Yeah.
It's decent money, and I'm still getting that work family life balance. I'm still seeing the kids, but I'm able to get, me and my husband, we work together with our diaries and make sure that we're kind of working together and covering the childcare thing. But yeah, but recently I started up my own band, so it's super, super good. It's super fun. It's a lot of work. So
Bet.
the admin thing is like, I've got a baby on my lap. I'm doing sales calls and like, laptop. It's crazy, but we have to just roll with it because my little one's so young. But it's really, really good. And so I don't know what that noise was, by the way. That wasn't. It sounded like a fart. I was like making sure that you don't think it was. I was like, I think it's a chair. Someone moved a chair next door. Anyway,
Don't even
um,
worry.
yeah. Imagine all the listeners going, did she just trump? So yeah, it works. It really works for us. I love being in the driving seat. I love dealing with clients, liaising with clients, making sure I kind of build their perfect package for their wedding day. Seeing us like make their day, is super, super fun and super special. But yeah, I could be in control of it. So this is
Yeah.
the theatre and long-term contracts. It's like, okay, well, it's going to be a year and you're going to Monday to Saturday, like that's it, you're bound. Whereas I can go, okay, well, I actually don't want to work that day, so I won't, or actually let's push some gigs here, and I can have some control over my work life and my income, which is fab. And it's super fun. I'm getting to sing like soul, Motown, pop songs, and they're all the songs people love, and
Yeah.
it is a fun little job. I do feel quite lucky.
Do you ever feel envious of, because I know a lot of the ladies who did the Over the Rainbow have now ended up being either on the West End. Most of them, it seems anyway, are really deep in their careers, like doing a lot of stuff. Do you ever feel left out from that? Or for you, is it because it's such a beautiful thing that you cherish the time with your family, which isn't, I don't know if I'd say, at least in American culture right now, is really the primary goal for a lot of young people at the time. But, um, how does it feel for you having all these people you're close to and seeing them do the things you wanted to do 7 years ago? Um, is it hard at times, or do you find it relatively easy to be really happy for the successes that they're having?
Yeah, do you know what I do? Because I keep in touch with all the girls. Sometimes more, sometimes you get in touch and you can go like, a year or two without speaking, and it's a bit bitty. But obviously with social media, Facebook, Instagram, you see what everyone's up to. And it's
Yeah.
also this thing of like you feel like you are in connection with everyone, right? Not just
Yeah.
connection with everyone because you're seeing what they're doing all the time. That I think it makes you a little bit lazy to go like, send personal text and be like, hey girl, like, because we're just in each other's lives constantly. But I'm honestly, when I see them succeed and doing well, I'm super, super happy for them. Um, like when Soph got Wicked, like we went to see her, and like honestly, like I don't feel, I wouldn't say envious. There's a small part sometimes that I go, ah, like it would have been nice to do that show. So, but it's never a case of, oh, why should she be doing it and I'm not, like it, that wouldn't even like cross my mind. So I'm really, really genuinely really proud of them. Especially when I like Soph now, she's a mum too. We were really close back in the day, and I'm like, okay, because I don't think many of the Dorothys, it's me, Steph, Soph. I think that's it. I think it's only three of us that have little ones now. So obviously, like I'm like, so you know what the the juggle's like, but a lot of the time, the girls will be having to sacrifice, one or the other, and I think it's a hard one because if you are super, super dedicated to the game,
Yeah.
you can go from one job to one job to one job, and it's amazing because you're doing what you love. But then next thing you know, like time's gone on, and I don't regret any choices that I've made, um, because I may have sacrificed my little family. Um, I The reason why actually we in the lockdown we were going to be more sensible, and I kind of wanted to do more things with my career and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of said to my husband like, I know so many so many friends that are struggling to conceive, which is like, I don't think this gets talked about enough, but
Mm.
I honestly, like, I was so surprised at the time that so many of my friends were struggling. I was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. Like, how is it this difficult for people? Um, so that's why I said, like, should we just give it a go, because we don't know how long it's going to take. Um, and we were very lucky and it happened first time, and I was like, oh, that was quick. But if I'd of basically, you don't know, if you'd have left it and carried on working, carried on working, carried on working with women and their, their body clocks, if I would basically, it would have broken me if I got to the point where it was too late for me to
Mm.
conceive, to like conceive a child. So in that sense, I don't have any regrets about when I decided to like exit the industry. Sometimes I think, oh, maybe you should have stuck it out like a couple of years longer, maybe done that role. But I was also quite exhausted, you know.
I bet. Yeah.
I'm really, really happy with the path that I've gone on. And whenever I do feel like, oh, why don't you just like, because those thoughts do creep into your head
Oh yeah,
sometimes,
sure.
Um, I then have to remind myself, like, look at like my kids and go, you've got that. Like, I wouldn't trade them for anything, for any job. So yeah, it is a tough one, but I'm super proud of all the girls and what they've managed to achieve. Lauren's just got Wicked in the American tour, which is
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So and I actually used to think, like, why hasn't Lauren played Alphabet? Like, she could do it in her sleep. So I'm super chuffed for her. She deserves it.
What, it's so um it's so cool how you talk about your children and you're cherishing them. What do you love most about being a mother? Because I think, I don't know for me, but it would either be two extremes for friends of mine. It was like people who really wanted babies, like that's all they really wanted to do is be a mom. And then on the other extreme, you had the people who were like, no, never, don't want that, not gonna go through that whole process of being pregnant and sick and then, no. So I had like these two extremes and um like for you, it seems like from what you've said, you wanted to be a mom. Did you have any fears about being a mom? Has motherhood been what you expected it to be or different? Or
So I've always had a very maternal instinct. Like, I've always known that I wanted babies. Um, Pregnancy, I didn't think would be as hard. So that was an experience. I loved being. It's such a weird thing. Like, I loved being pregnant. I love the feeling of having, this little baby inside you, like feeling it kick, all of that kind of stuff. I loved it. All the horrible symptoms did not like. So I never imagined. I knew you'd get morning sickness, all that kind of stuff, but I had a few other issues, and obviously, like with the back injury and being like very small. With my husband's quite a large man, so I had like big babies for my size, and it kind of put the pressure on my back. I know,
yeah.
I was like out here, I was basically like a ball rolling down the hill when I was about to give birth. But yeah, pregnancy was hard. And motherhood, don't get me wrong, is the hardest job I have had, for sure.
Mm,
Um, but it's um this sounds cliche and a bit sickly, but it's a love that you can't explain. When you've actually given birth to these babies, and you've made them, you've created them. My friend said something the other day and it stuck with me. He's just had a baby, musician friend. He said, it's like I grew a heart especially for your kids, and it is like
mm.
that. Because you can't match that. Like, I would literally do anything for them. And it is hard, especially the toddler phase. Like, the terrible twos is definitely a thing. um you know Sometimes when my toddler's on good form, I am like, you are just like the most beautiful thing. And I could just squeeze him. And then 2.5 seconds later, he's like a demon from hell. And I'm like, who are you? Get out. It is like me and my husband look at each other like, why do we do this again? I don't know why do we do, but anyway, like it's up and down, it's a roller coaster. I'm sure any any parent will say the same, um but honestly, like, and we're in the thick of it at the moment because we've got like two like very young ones, um and we're not, and my 8-month old, bless him, he's like the sweetest thing you've ever seen. But he's had all these like little health issues ever since he was born.
Hmm.
Which subsequently has meant he's not slept very well. Like he had reflux, really severe reflux for the first 6 months. So he was like constantly being sick. But like, just baby sicknesses, illnesses, and he's just never slept well. I said to my mum just now, like, last night he was like, it was like he was doing the worm, like in bed. I was like it's like a fish that's washed, onto the.
Oh.
It's like he was just like doing this wiggling thing all night. I was like, dude. But yeah, it's tough because we're in the thick of it. Once they start sleeping, it gets a bit easier. Which, yeah, it's tough when you've got like late nights and you're at home at like 1 in the morning and then they're ready for the day at 6 and you're like, oh, okay. But honestly, but it's a love that you can't really compare. And yeah, I won't carry on being cheesy about my kids.
No, no, not at all. Do you what, if you this is kind of a random question, but when you have children, usually I feel like from I haven't had kids yet myself, but from the people I've seen who've had children, suddenly the world and what's going on in the world in some ways seems more impactful because you're thinking about the future for your children and what the world's going to be like. Um, is there something about the world now that you would love to see changed by the time your kids are older?
Very good question. Yeah, a lot of it. There is actually a part of me that is genuinely terrified for my kids and my grandkids. Um, because I feel like there was this real disconnect with the world at the moment. Especially like we were talking briefly before we started the interview about like technology and AI and social media. Basically this stupidly fast, like the way we're going with tech,
Yeah.
is is just happening so fast. But I think in this age of social media being so prevalent, we're all addicted to our phones, we're all addicted with the tech, we're all becoming lazy. Everything is efficient, everything is
Yeah.
convenience, everything. I just feel like there's this big disconnect going on, and we're not really connecting with people properly. We're
Hmm.
um, putting on this front on social media like it really matters, these filters, and everyone's obsessed with their image, and we're getting like so much. Everyone's getting like work done like constantly, and I'm seeing like these practically kids, with like lashes like that and like lips. Oh, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just scared. I'm just scared for, I think, this generation of teenagers. Like, this was not like, I don't know, how old are you?
24.
24. So you're, oh my God, you make me feel old. So you're 11 years younger than me. But I think you're like, it's the generation just under yours, I think, is going to be
Yeah.
like in real trouble because it's not real life. Like what we're all, I think, I don't know, I just feel like we're all turning into these robots, and there's this real disconnect going on. And I think we just need to go back to basics and just scrap everything and just boycott Instagram and just meet up with people and talk. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just, even things down to like our food that we're eating, and I'm guilty of it too. I'll be on the motorway and be like, oh, I'm a vegetarian, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll go for like, one of the veggie burgers from Burger King or whatever. And I'm like, what we're eating is kind of all synthetic, all these processed foods coming out. You know, it's just this whole disconnect. I think we're getting unhealthier, physically and
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
Mentally, our mental health is obviously like on the decline. Everyone's, I feel like depression and anxiety is an epidemic, and I would like to see I'd like to see that get a lot better, because right now I'm
Mm.
pretty terrified for my boys. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because when you were in the industry and even now, did you deal at all with depression or anxiety? Because I would think those instances, especially all these different triggers, even if you're back, must have caused, these are whole new experiences that you're facing for the first time. Did you ever go through these seasons where it was really difficult mentally for you or?
Yeah, yeah. And this isn't this isn't common knowledge, but I'm just being quite honest on this podcast. But when I got my first big job, when I was 16, I did a TV show called My Parents Are Aliens. It was like a kids show. Um, and I was 16. I there was a car waiting for me outside my school. I did my last exam, and I hopped in the car and I drove up to Leeds where this show was filmed. But I'd never ever thought about my weight or what I was eating. I've been quite lucky, that I'm from a Mediterranean and Caribbean family where portions are this big, but usually
Yeah.
like, I could, my metabolism was quite fast. I was used to it. I developed a stamina from a very early age. But once I'd got to filming, I don't know if you know what TV catering is like, but essentially you've got all this crew, and you have like a catering truck where you like there's just so much, option. The meals are really big, and we were living all together in this house with an amazing lady, called Isla, who used to look after us and make us whatever we wanted.
Mm.
We'd come in for breakfast, it'd be like fry ups, and then big lunches, and then for dinner, we like whatever we wanted. And I was just like, cool, great, this is great, I love it. But after a while, I started to like felt like my outfits were getting a bit tight on me. Excuse me. I was watching myself on TV, and like getting bigger. It wasn't a huge
Mm.
amount of weight at the
Yeah.
time. I was like, oh my god, like I'm fat. I've got fat, and I started to see myself, you know, like I was like disgusted with what I was seeing, because obviously you're watching yourself on TV. You're scrutinizing yourself a lot.
Mm.
Anyway, so I actually developed an eating disorder, and I kind of stopped eating, and I was purging, and it was really really awful. um I was definitely depressed, and I was hiding it from my family, and I wasn't able to be myself, like my true self, because I was obsessed with food, like eating, not eating.
Yeah.
It just took over. It honestly, like looking back now, I don't recognize that person, because I'm so, obviously I don't have a problem anymore, thank God. But at the time it was everything, and I used to cry myself to sleep thinking, this is my life now, that I'll get out of this. It was really sad, actually. I feel quite sad for that person. But then I ended up going to drama school, and I still, for part of my time at drama school, had a problem. I had a big problem. And then you're there in a leotard in front of a mirror,
Yeah.
watching yourself
I
try
bet.
and do pirouettes, and you're going, oh God, I'm a bit lumpy there, I'm a bit, and you're comparing yourself to other people. It's just really, really unhealthy. I think a lot of people have issues at dance schools primarily, I think, drama schools, where they're under pressure to look a
Yeah.
certain way, lose a certain amount of weight. I don't think I ever had that pressure from any teachers or anything, but I put the pressure on myself. um, and So yeah, so I think I had a problem for about, I can't remember the exact dates, but probably about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I was not in a good place. And this is like, I'd be okay for a little while, and then I'd slip back into, the horrible thoughts again, and then it would, yeah, it was quite bad.
Did it
And
get
then
better because of anything in particular or?
um Do you know what? I actually think it came to an end around Over the Rainbow, and I
Huh,
think
that's interesting.
yeah, I haven't really thought about the. It's only because you're making me think about it. I haven't really thought about when it kind of ended, but I have a feeling that that might have been quite a good distraction. We were so busy. The schedules on that show, there was no time to think about food. um, you know, so yeah, we were in rehearsals practicing for this medley mashup for this dance. Like it was just back to back to back to back to back, and obviously that would have provided quite a big distraction. It might have calmed down before then, but not long before.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't remember a pinpoint. I remember a couple of times going, that's it, like, I'm going to start being healthy now, and then you kind of relapse, I guess. um
Yeah.
but yeah, it is tough when you're in that kind of industry where you're always kind
Hmm.
of judging yourself. What you look like
Yeah.
um is really important in this industry. How you carry yourself and how you're able to dance and how you look in a certain leotard or whatever. It's yeah, it's
Hmm.
tough. You've got to be quite strong.
Well, Stephanie, I'm so appreciative of your time, and honestly, you're such a calm and like engaging person to talk to. It's really cool to talk with you, but I wanted to, ask one more question. If there was a song that you have sung or a song that um you haven't yet, what kind of melody do you think captures your personality really well?
Oh, as in an actual song that exists,
Yeah.
or the oh, that's a really good question. Hmm. It's also depends on my mood. I'm the most indecisive person in the world, by the way. So questions like this just drive me nuts because I'm like, oh, there's so many options. Um,
Maybe in this season of life, a song. Maybe that'd be easier.
I would. Oh, oh. Do you know what? Because we were talking about how I'm scared for the world. we'll go a bit. We'll go down that lane. A change is going to come.
Hmm, okay.
Um, because I really do hope that there is a change that's going to come pretty soon. For my bubbers. Um, but I was trying to think of like another.
No, that's a good one too. If that you don't have to pick more.
Yeah. Do you think? I don't know. I'm now like overthinking my song choice.
I think especially, because you are in a season where motherhood is also really close because the kids are so little. It makes sense though that that would be the song that you would think of.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, I thank you so much, and I your voice is beautiful. So I that's one reason why when I was watching Over the Rainbow, I was rooting for you, but because I was like I really loved your voice and your acting too and your personality, and it seemed to come through so well when you would act and you would bring out the song and what it was talking about. Um, and I was just so happy to be able to find you and be able to have this interview with you.
That's really, really lovely. When you first got in touch, I was like, has she got the right person? Why does she want to interview me? But thank you, honestly, like thank you for wanting to, delve into my life. And it's actually been quite nice to revisit some things that I've not, for a while. And lovely talking to you.
Yes, you too, and thanks for taking the time when your children are taking a nap.
It's quite a long nap, actually.
Isn't it?
My, my,
All
mum,
right.
my mum's on watch though. Don't worry, I haven't just like shut him in a room and just disappeared.
All right, Stephanie, have a good night.
Thank you.